Welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to, yes, I do. Yes, I have my iPad with my notes. So last video, I talked about godly friendships, right? Now this video, we're talking about how to spot out a bad friend with biblical verses. You don't want the drama. You don't need the drama. You just want real life godly friends. So these Bible verses will let you know what is what's, who is who. So let's get to, I'm sorry, I'm looking at a towing truck. All right. So the first Bible verse I have is Proverbs 22:24-25. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared. I'm not saying like, yes, we all have, some bad days. But if you have that friend that angry all the time, I mean, yes, pray. We want to pray for them or whatever. But I'm not going to get all into it because, come on. Hot-tempered, my bad. I just hit the thing. Hot-tempered. And a true friend helps you grow in wisdom, which we already know, and not drag you into trouble. So if you have someone that drags you into the drama, you gotta look at that. Look at that. Secondly, Proverbs 12, verse 26. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. So a true friend influences you towards righteousness and not sin. Don't call everybody a friend. I have trouble with doing that. Not saying I treat everybody as a friend, but I call them friend when they're associates or, don't call everybody your friend. Don't do it. Choose your friends wisely. Please, like overall of this video, if you have not gotten anything, bad company corrupts good character. You ever heard that saying, I was about to say you are what you eat. No. But let's say your friend steals. People know that your friend steals and you're hanging with somebody that steals. They're going to think you steal. So you really have to watch who you hang around with who's good for our mental and so forth. Yeah. So that's all I have to say in this video. Comment down if y'all had any bad friends. Do y'all still talk to them? You still hang around? Let me know in the comments what your definition of a good friend and what you look out for a bad friend. All right, talk to you guys later. See y'all in the next video. Bye.